Hi guys. All right, so we are going to do our Theater 214 assignment. We're going to learn how to build a 3D theater space in Vectorworks. So you should have your worksheets, and if you don't have them, they are digitally available to you in D2L. So the first thing that we're going to do is when you open up your Vectorworks, it's going to take you to this online setup, and we're just going to go top left, should say your name, and we're going to create a blank document. So it should just say Untitled 1. This is going to be your assignment for today. So what we're going to do first is we're just going to save this, and I would like you to save it in a specific way. So go up to File. We're going to do Save. Well, how about we do Save As? Okay, and then what I would suggest is setting up on your workspace a Theater 214 folder. Wherever you save your Vectorworks documents, you can't then move them. They won't be able to open. I don't know why. It seems to be just the way that it is set up. So I'm going to go ahead and save it just right in here in my Theater 214 class, and then you're going to save it in a very specific way. You're just going to do Theater 214 underscore. You can call it the proscenium space or theater space, whatever you want to do. And then you're going to do underscore, and you're going to do your name. This is really important to include your name in all of these document titles. Otherwise, when I go to grade them, I have no way of knowing whose is whose. I have to download them to my computer in order to grade. So make sure to put your name. Okay, we're going to just set up our workspace a little bit here. When you look at your document at first, you're always in top plan view. Okay, that is a bird's eye view. It's a top-down view of whatever it is that you're looking at. You can see down here in this little cube, you can toggle here between different views. So top plan view is going to be like home. This is the right side view, bottom view, front view, top. Top is 3D, and you want to go to a top plan because that's going to take you back to 2D. And actually, it should be set up that if you hit Command or Control, if you're on a PC, 5, then it goes to top plan. This is where we're in 2 dimensions, which is the traditional drafting style. So we always want to be able to go home to that. So I have my personal settings, and what I'm going to teach you is to do a few different settings. So we're going to go up here to Tools, down to Workspaces. Okay, and then we're going to do Edit Current Workspace. Okay, and then we're going to go over to Views over here. And we're going to do standard views. So you're going to click on this down arrow. And as you can see, top plan is automatically at Command or Control 5. So yours is not going to say anything next to the front view. I've already set mine up for Command 4 to be my front view. What you're going to do is just click on that. It's weird that it selects all of them, but you are actually on front view. And then it should be Command plus key and put in the 4 for front view. And then I always use left view as Command 3. So you're going to click on that and then do Command plus key 3 for left view. And then I also do right view as Command 2, but we're not going to use that one as much in class. So we just want to make sure we're top plan as 5, front view as 4, left view as 3, and then just go ahead and press OK. So now when you hit Command 4 It automatically takes me to a front view, Command 3 to a left view, Command 2 to a right view. I'm always toggling between these views, and so it's very important for us to have that set up for class so that you don't fall behind. So some other keystrokes that I want you to know. M, just plain M, is a multi-view. So here you can see that you're looking at your top view, right view, front view, and isometric view. I honestly don't use this very much, but it's really important if you accidentally hit M to know the way to get out of this multi-view is to hit M again. Some more keystrokes. So now if you look at the second page, more keystrokes that I want you to know is X is the cursor. So this is what you're going to use to select items, and you're going to use your cursor. I'm in the cursor most of the time. This next view over in the basics is the pan tool. It's that little hand. This makes it so that you can grab your page and scroll and move around within your workspace. So I'm going to hit X to get it back to the cursor. The other way to do that is just to go up to your basics tool set up here top left and hit that cursor. So H is going to take you to the hand tool, which is pan, move it around. X, back to your cursor. You're going to use those all the time. It's fine if you want to just go up to your basics tool, that works as well. You'll see that this over here, this is your basic toolbar. You're going to use that all the time. As you can see, you can click it and drag it off of there. You can place it anywhere you want, wherever it's comfortable for you to draft. I like to keep mine docked over here. So in order to redock, you just click and drop. I also like to have my tool sets on all of the time. This is the tool set over here. As you can see, you can toggle through different tool sets. You can toggle into lighting. You can toggle into soft goods. You can toggle into, this is more like dimensioning tools. But this one right here with a spiral is the 3D modeling tool. That's what we're going to keep it in for most of our classes for scenic design. And then the attributes are right over here. And what you can do is you can dock this as well right under there. So I always have basics at the top, tool sets, and then the attributes. Dock that again. So if you lose this, like if you accidentally close the basic tools or the attributes or the tool set and you're like, where did my tools go? It's really easy to get those back. You're just going to go up here to window, going to go to palettes, and then you can just turn them on and off here. So basics, they're back. Look at that. Tool sets. And then attributes. Okay, so now I have my three tool sets that I like to have on the left side of my screen all set up. On the right hand side of your screen, the two things that we're always going to have, we're going to have our navigation palette. And as you can see, the check mark is here next to design layer 1, which is great. Wherever your check mark is, that's where you are. That'll make sense later. And then the object information. We don't have any objects currently because we just started, so nothing is selected. But this is going to give you all of the information about the objects that you're creating in Vectorworks. Okay, so we're going on to the next page. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to go ahead and we're going to do some organization before we even start our project. So to do the organization, you're going to go up to Tools, Organization. This is when you have to put on, like, I wear two hats a lot. I wear my designer hat where I'm designing, and then I wear sort of like more of an organizational hat. Like, I call it the stage manager in me has to come out and really organize everything that I've drafted in Vectorworks. So these correlate to what is down here in your navigation tool. So classes are going to be this left one, and the classes are left up here. We will create a lot of classes eventually, but first we're going to focus on design layers. So our design layers are holistically, they're like the larger picture, the big picture of your design layer. So I usually draft my set designs in design layer 1, and I draft the theater architecture. I just create a new design layer. So you hit new, and instead of design layer 2, I'm just going to rename this theater architecture. Every design I do, I just always create a theater architecture class, because then I can have that theater space, which is never changing. It's always the same. The architecture doesn't change. It's solid, and I can turn it on and off really easily. And I also can lock it in space. So again, the check mark is right here, which means we've moved now into the theater architecture design layer, which is where we want to work anyway. So we're going to just press OK. And now you can see down here in your navigation bar, the check mark is next to theater architecture. Okay, so we're going to start building our stage floor. Make sure you're in top plan view. So hit Command 5 to get you there. And then you're going to double click on this rectangle tool. As you can see, you can select the width and the height of your rectangle. So we're going to just go ahead and do 40 feet, 0 inches for the width, and 20 feet, 0 inches for the height. So if you remember from when we were drafting our hand drafting ground plans, it was really important to have that center line and the plaster line on our document. So we're going to go ahead, and these dots right here indicate our insertion point. We want our insertion point to be bottom center, because think about center line and then the plaster line. And then go ahead and press OK. And now you can see I've got my rectangle, and if I move my cursor, I'm just moving it around on my document. And what I want to do is find center, page center, and I'm just going to go ahead and click right there. That can act as our center line, as our plaster line. Okay, so if you go ahead and click in your basic tools, you have your cursor, you have your pan tool, and then you have a flyover tool. That's the third one over. So if you click on that, what you can do is you can just click and drag, and you can kind of rotate around your object. And right now you can see that our stage deck is just a two-dimensional rectangle. So I'm going to go ahead and click Command 5. That's going to bring us right back home to our top plan view. And I want to make this 2D object three-dimensional. And the way that we can do that is to extrude it. We can do extrude through Command E. So now you've turned your two-dimensional object into a three-dimensional object. And the extrusion is sort of the thickness that we're going to give that. So we're going to go ahead and give it 3 feet of thickness. So you can see it's 40 feet wide, it's 20 feet deep, and then it's going to be 3 feet. I guess the extrusion is going to be 3 feet. So go ahead and click OK. Now when we go to our flyover tool and we fly over, we can see that this is a three-dimensional rectangle, which is awesome. So if you have only just lines and it's not sort of filled in like mine is filled in, what you want to do is this teapot up here. If you click over here, there's different rendering modes. And if you click down, you can see the first one is wireframe. Wireframe is nice because oftentimes you need to see exact lines and where things are, and you need to be able to see through different objects. So that's where wireframe comes in handy. But once you start getting a lot of different objects, your wireframe can be a little bit visually confusing. And so you're going to click down and you're going to go to shaded. So I will, when I'm 3D modeling for my set design, I usually stay in shaded view because I can really see what that is going to look like. So now what I want you to do is I want you to go to a front view. So Command or Control 4, and that takes us directly to a front view of this object. And what you can see is that its bottom Z over here in the object information is at 0. Now, if I were to start building my set design and putting things on the stage floor, I'd have to move everything up 3 feet. I don't want to have to do that. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm just going to move this stage deck -3 feet so that the stage deck is at 0. So you're going to go ahead and hit Command M. This is going to move it. So if you look down here, you can see that the Y axis right now is going up and down on your screen. The X axis is going left and right. So we're going to move this object. We're moving it in a 2D plane, which is just fine. So we're not going to move it horizontally, which is the X. We want to move it vertically up and down on the Y axis. So we're going to go ahead and hit -3 feet. And we want to do negative because we want it to go in a negative direction. Okay, so now you can see that the bottom Z, the bottom of this object is at -3, which means the top of this object is our stage deck at 0, 0, which is great. That's what we want. Okay, so now go ahead and do Command 5. We want to go back to a top plan view. We're going to turn our page, and we have already moved our stage. This talks you through how to move in 3D, which would be Control Option M, which you can also use. I find it easiest to always stay in a top, front, left, or right view, and then you can just move on the XY axis, and you don't have to think quite as sculpturally about what direction you're moving. It just keeps me grounded. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to place the center line. So, like I said, we always want to orient ourselves with the center line and the plaster line. So, our center line, we're just going to click on this tool, the line tool, and basically I can start at my midpoint up here at the top, or you can start at the center, either way. I'm going to do midpoint. I find it easier. You're just going to drag your cursor down, and wherever you click next is where your line is going to end. We're going to put an apron on this proscenium, and so I want to go well beyond where that apron will end. And then you just click and you have your line, which is great. But if you remember from the hand drafting portion of the class, our line type for center line is always long dash, short dash. And so what we're going to do down here in our attributes is, you see this is the pen style. So we're just going to go to this little drop down menu, and we can click here and find different line types. So we're going to just scroll down. The other thing we can do is we can search long dash, short dash. Oh, it doesn't want to show us. Okay, well, let's try just long dash. See what, nope. Okay. It's not really wanting to show us that. So we're just going to scroll down and find our long dash, short dash. You can double click on that. And then when you scroll into this and click off, you can see that it has become a long dash, short dash line, which is excellent. We're going to click on that. And remember we talked about sort of the line weights. and how they tell us what is important, I would like to bump our line weight, our line thickness up to 0.18, just so it's a little bit more noticeable. And then what I also want to do is I'm going to go ahead and change the color of this to green. That just sets it apart, and it tells us this is your center line. Oh, look, we lost our dash though. We still want you dashed. Okay, there we go. All right, so we've set up our center line, and then we're going to wait on our plaster line until we have our proscenium put in. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to build our theater walls. There is a line tool, there is a wall tool on Vectorworks, but I find that it's too rigid and it's not as flexible as I want as far as making it change and adapt. So what we're going to do is we're going to build a rectangle and extrude it up the height we want, and then we're just going to cut out the middle. So we're going to do our rectangle tool again, starting with a 2D rectangle, 40 feet by 20 feet. We want that to stay the same. So we're going to press OK, and then we're going to put it right on top of our other rectangle that we've built. Okay, so now again, we can fly over and see that we have a 2-dimensional rectangle right on top of our 3-dimensional stage deck. So I'm going to go back to a top plan view, Command 5. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to extrude this one more time. This time I want to extrude it up the height of those theater walls, which are very tall. So we're going to go up 30 feet, 0 inches. Awesome. We'll fly over again just so we can see that we've built a big 3-dimensional rectangle here. Once we go back to our top view, now we just need to cut out the walls. So the way that I'm going to do this is we want those theater walls to be 8 inches thick. So we're just going to subtract 16 inches out of the width and the height. So that's going to be 38 feet, 8 inches. And it's going to be 18 feet, 8 inches. But instead of having this centered on the bottom center, I want to center it right in the middle of that pre-existing platform. So you're going to go ahead and press OK. And again, we've got our rectangle. We're going to place it right in the middle. So if you can see, it's an equal distance all the way around that smaller rectangle. So I'm going to click. Now I have it 2D again. I'm going to hit Command E to extrude. This time I want to make sure I'm cutting through the top and the bottom of my larger rectangle. So I'm going to go ahead and just go 34 feet. It's well beyond. Okay, so now when you fly over, you can see this inner rectangle is actually taller, but it's going to cut nice little edges so that we have theater walls. I want to go to a front view, so I'm going to do Command 4, and you can see we're looking straight forward. I want to make sure that this rectangle cuts through the top, but the bottom as well. So I'm going to go ahead and move it down about a foot. So hit Command M, on the Y axis, which is going up and down, that's that vertical, we're going to go -1 foot and press OK. Okay, so you can see it's orange in there, and you can kind of see that it's cutting down into the stage deck, which is okay. We're not gonna cut it out of that. And if you go into wireframe, you can see just sort of the outlines of everything. Okay, so we're gonna select the inside rectangle. Then we're going to hit the Shift button so that we can also select the outside rectangle. Okay, now you can see that both of those objects are selected. This time we're going to do something called Subtract Solids. So I'm going to go up to the Model drop down button, and I'm just going to hit this one that says Subtract Solids. Okay, now if you look at your two rectangles, this one is highlighted with red. The one that is highlighted red is the one that will stay. The other one is going to disappear. So yeah, this is what we want to do. We're going to press OK. And now it has cut out the center of our proscenium space. So now we have walls and we have a floor. I'm going to go Command 4. We're looking at a straight on view, because our next step now is we need to cut out where the proscenium arch goes so that the audience can see the action on stage. So the proscenium is going to be 30 feet wide by 20 feet tall. So we're going to double click on our rectangle tool. We're going to do the same thing that we did. So for the width, we want that to be 30 feet, 0 inches. Oops. And we want the height to be 20 feet, 0 inches. But we want our insertion point to be the bottom center, because we don't want people to have to step over a proscenium. We're going to press OK. We're going to place it right down at the bottom of our proscenium. It says midpoint, which is great. If yours is not saying midpoint and sort of snapping to that point, what you want to do is up here, these tools at the top, sort of top right, these are your snap tools. When they're orange or whatever color you have on, some people's are pink or purple or blue, those will then start to sort of find different points. It found the end point of that rectangle, finds the midpoint, finds the center. So if it's not connecting the way you want, check your snaps. Okay. Now we have another two-dimensional object, and we're going to go ahead and extrude it back with Command E. I'm going to go ahead and leave it at 34, which is way excessive, because really we only need to cut through 8 inches of material. But this is going to make it a lot easier to get it into the place it needs to be. And you'll see what I mean. So press OK. Now we're going to go to a top plan view. So if I do Command 5, so you can see that because we were working on this 0 axis here, this kind of went down stage of where it needs to be. So we do need to move it at least 8 inches upstage, and I'm going to go more than that. So you're going to hit Command M, and we want to move it on our Y axis, and I want to move it at least 1 foot. I think I'm just going to go 3 feet. Excuse me. So press OK. And now you can see it's clearly cutting through our theater walls. I'm going to use the flyover tool so I can get sort of an isometric view. I've got my cutting rectangle selected. I'm going to go ahead and select the theater walls. And then I'm going to go again to Model, Subtract Solids. As you can see, it's selected the theater walls to be red, which is great. That's what we want to cut. So we're going to press OK. And now we've got a great little theater space. Woohoo! The next thing we want to do is create our apron. So I'm going to go to a top view, top plan view. And what we're going to do is, when you're in a top plan view, I do want you to notice right here, we can see this line where the proscenium is cut through the walls. That's good because that's where we want our apron to start and to end over here. So we're going to go ahead and click on this right here called the arc tool. If you look at the top up here, there are several different ways that you can draw an arc. And once you start drafting, you'll find that different options are good for different things that you need to draw. So we're going to do, let's see. We're going to do center mode. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw my left endpoint, come over and draw my right endpoint, and then when I'm along the center line, I can push it and pull it in different variables. So you could have a really shallow apron like this, or you could have like a very round apron that juts out quite a ways. And honestly, what I'm going to do is I'm going to click right here on center to have sort of a medium-sized apron. But if you prefer one or the other for this class project, it's really up to you, and I'm just going to let you do what you want. So, but I'm going to do center and click. Oh, again, we have a two-dimensional object, and we need to make it three-dimensional. So we're going to hit Command E for our extrude. And we want it to be the same size as our stage deck. So go ahead and do the extrusion of 3 feet, press OK. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go to a front view, Command 4. And what you can see is that the apron is above the stage deck. We don't really want that, so we're going to do Command M for move. And on that Y axis, we're going to go -3 feet. Awesome. This looks great, but when we take our flyover tool and we kind of fly over, you get this trippy thing right here because we have two three-dimensional objects laying right on top of each other, and that is annoying. So what we're going to do is this time we're going to select that apron and then hit the shift button. And we're also going to select the stage deck. So we have both of those things selected. There are two ways that I can approach this. I could do a subtract solid so that it subtracts all the rest of this arc out, and then we have our apron separate from our stage deck. But what I want to do is I want to avoid having two objects that are touching right there, because you'll always see that line. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up to Model, and I'm going to do Add Solids. And then we have this beautiful seamless stage deck. Okay, so let's go to a top view, Command 5, top plan view. And if you'll remember, what we have is a center line, but then we also need our plaster line. The plaster line is located at the back side of that proscenium wall. So I'm going to draw a line with my line tool. And I'm just going to find, it's basically going to be going right over the top of the back of that proscenium. So you're not going to see it right off, but you can find that endpoint. We're going to click. Okay. And then for the proscenium line, now you can see that I did draw it right there. You can see it better from an isometric view. We're going to go ahead and we're going to go, instead of a solid, we're going to do a line type. And it automatically goes to dashed, which is what we want it to be. So we're going to leave that dashed line there. And you can turn it to green if you would like. I'm going to go ahead and turn mine green. It just sets it apart a little bit and helps us to understand that it's indicating the proscenium line. It's not necessarily part of the architecture. So now we have everything that we need for this project for the proscenium space. What I want you to do, if you go to the final page of your handout, the back page, you can see that now what we're going to do is we're going to use the tools that we learned, and we're going to go ahead and add in some set design objects. So platforms, you're going to add platforms. I'm going to do them the exact same way. So if I go to a top plan view and I double click on my rectangle, we're going to go ahead and remember that a traditional platform, just a standard size, is going to be 8 feet wide by 4 feet tall. Okay, you can click any insertion point wherever you want it to go. You can press OK. We're going to just drop it down here in the middle of the stage. Now this is a 2D object, so we do want to extrude it. Most of our platforms here are either 6 inches tall or 8 inches tall. I'm going to go ahead and do 6 inches. Press OK. Now we have a platform on stage. So I want you to kind of come up with something a little bit creative, and I want you to do 4 platforms, 1 doorway, 6 flats, and 1 stairway. Let's just do the best you can do, and I can't wait to see what you come up with.